Hello, my beautiful. Have you ever wondered what does it feel like to really be loved by God or by Source or whatever you want to call it, the universe? Hello and welcome to my channel, your personal empowerment channel. My name is Doris Victoria, your soul empowerment and conscious millionaire coach. And today's message is actually inspired by a channeling that I received from one of my favorite non-incarnated masters, so to speak, and I feel like I really want to share that with you because it is so valuable. Once you know that there is this divine love that is always there for you, you know, it is hard for us, for those of us who never really felt loved by our parents, or let's say we grew up in a harsh environment, or we have chosen maybe difficult people, you know, around us for whatever reason. You know what Tony Robbins says, though, hard times create strong people. So I believe that many of us old souls, the reason that we often chose these kind of harsh environments or families where we felt misunderstood, alienated, maybe even, excluded. If you have chosen those family, it is certainly to become stronger. And, you know, strong people also do the inner work. Remember that strong people actually, they do not stop inquiring about life. They will continue asking, why am I here? What is this all for? What am I doing here on planet Earth? What is my mission? What is my purpose? Why do I react like this in this certain situation or whatever? So there's so many questions. Excuse me. So today I want to give this kind of like metaphoric image that has helped me a lot. So let's say for some of you who never had this feeling of belonging here on earth, I remember for me it was not in my family. I never had this feeling of belonging with my physical, with my biological, my physical parents, but I had it with a grandma that was there for me. And I feel like she and I, because she was only there in my childhood for me, she was already a grandmother. So when I saw her, she was already in her 80s when I was a little kid, like 3-4 years old, and my mom left me at her place. My mom had 3 daughters. I was the middle one, so 2 of my daughters were always put to one of my grandmas that I did not necessarily like, because I once picked her flowers from a flower field and they were little daisies, and I always loved flowers. So I wanted to make her a little gift. This woman that was my father's mother, and when I gave her the bouquet of little daisies, she said thank you, and she took it. But then later on, she let it fall on the street. And I remember how I actually picked all of them up crying, because I could not understand how she would just throw these flowers back onto the street where people would walk on them. And it was also for me kind of, no, this is not a person I can emotionally trust. That was for me a sign, no, that is not someone I choose to be with. Someone who does not accept my gift, someone who doesn't see the beauty in a bouquet of wild flowers picked by a little girl. I mean, no, excuse me, wasn't my choice. And so my mom left me at my other grandmother, where I was alone. I felt like I was the only child there, because at home we were 3, so, and there was already very little attention for any of us because both my parents were working. And I also felt like children back then were just, it was a necessity. Well, yeah, you had children because it was normal, but no one really thought about what it actually means to raise a child, and that children mostly need emotional support and love. All they want is to be loved, to have parents that are present and loving with them, that are playing with them, that are discovering the world with them. You know, that's all they want. And so attention was not a big thing when I was a little kid. And I had to learn to actually give it to myself, this sort of attention. So very soon I became very in tune with my feelings. No one ever asked me how I felt anyway. So the only one that was interested in my feelings was me. So that's a good thing. I really felt like, thanks to my childhood that I chose, I got very in tune with how I feel, and my feelings became my guidance system on this planet, on this earth, and in this lifetime. So anyway, to continue the story, so my mom left me at my grandmother's house, and she was the mother of my mom's father. So she was 3 generations ahead of me. But she was the one that actually saved my, how can I say, in a way she saved my sanity. Because when I was a little child and I came to this earth and I was like, oh my God, where am I? People are not laughing, they're not playing, they're not loving. Where is life? Because as Gandhi said, where there's laughter and there's love, there's life. I didn't see any life when I was a little child, you know, because where I grew up, this area was very dictatorial. You had to get up at this time and then you had to go to work, and life was very serious. And then in the evening you had to do your homework, and if there was time you still had to get some groceries to make dinner, and then you went to bed. And that was life, basically. There wasn't any celebration. I soon created a life that I felt more comfortable with. And at the age of 14, I started to live. So I was born in Eastern Germany. Palm trees were a rarity there. I mean, in fact, I've never seen palm trees when I was a little kid. But I started living or dreaming of palm trees and the ocean and the beach when I was 14. And then I manifested the next step that I did, going away when I was leaving Germany for good. I was only 19 years old, and I moved to Spain, to Barcelona, where I had the Mediterranean Sea, and I had beaches, and I had palm trees. So what we think about is what we are going to manifest. But back to our theme today. So for me, my childhood was not what I would have wished for in terms of emotional presence and emotional availability and maturity of my parents, because both I feel were emotionally immature. My dad maybe a little more than my mom, but it was difficult. I could never really talk about feelings, and my feelings were pretty much ignored. Good feelings, bad feelings, everything was ignored. I wasn't allowed to be happy. I wasn't allowed to be angry. I wasn't allowed to be sad or righteous or anything. You always had to be kind of like dead. Like when you're in a hospital and somebody is connecting a monitor to your heart, and it's you know, the line is just a straight line and says deed. Well, that's when you're dead, right? Because life is always deed, deed. It's always up and down and up and down. So other than my grandmother, who made me draw, she saw my talent in languages. She saw my talent in painting and drawing. I loved doing little drawings when I was a kid, like horses or landscapes or portraits. I was really, really good in painting portraits because I've always been interested in capturing people's emotions on their faces. So the faces that I'm still drawing and painting today are actually, every single one has their own unique expression. So, and at her place, life was way more, how can I say, it was way more beautiful because she made me draw. She made me bring out my creativity. And then when I drew something, when I painted something, she gave me a favorite piece, a piece of my favorite cake, which was kind of like It was like a sand cake. It was kind of dry and it was covered with chocolate. And it was a very ancient kind of like bakery right underneath her apartment. And oh my God, I loved it. These were my gems. This was my gem in life, my literal gem, you know? So I never really looked forward to go back home, but I looked forward to go to my grandmother because she saw who I was and she always had little things, and life with her was beautiful. I mean, we never did anything outside and I helped her as much as I could as well. But she definitely saved my sanity because she saw me and she took me into her arms. You know, in fact, when I got to her apartment in the morning, the first thing we did is we went back to bed and we cuddled, because she must have felt how important that is for every child, to cuddle with their parents, to have any physical affection. I never got any physical affection from my mother. My mother never hugged us. What she did is she gave us a cold kiss on our mouth and that was it. But there was never any physical affection. So thanks to my grandmother, I would say my childhood was, how can I say, saved in a way. And I still thank her. I still am grateful for you. I know you're on the other side now, but her spirit still lives in me. So what I want to talk about today is for you who never felt the affection or the love of a parent, or, you know, maybe you never knew what it really feels like to be loved by someone who would not leave you, who would not abandon you, who would not say things like, I love you, and then leave you alone or something, you know? Because that's all that we experience here on earth. That's what humans have the tendency to do, many of them at least. But it doesn't have to be this way. So God's love is a little bit like, imagine your ideal parents now. Just imagine, how would they look like? How would they be with you? How would they talk to you? How would they have treated you when you were a little child? You know, what would they have shown you that you could feel safe, that you could feel loved, that you knew there is someone emotionally present whenever you need them? And remember that the emotional body is our most important body, because that's who we truly are. We have a physical body, but we are an emotional body. Everything is about emotions, you know, everything. So imagine what it would feel like for you to have those parents that you maybe never had in this real life or in this incarnation. But just take a moment and, you know, define for yourself what it would look like. What would these parents look like, feel like, make you feel like? You know, what would be the feeling that you would have had going home? And then imagine God's love. God's love is when you raise your hand and you say, you're ready, take my hand, Spirit. I want to be guided from now on forevermore. When you claim, and because we all have free choice, we need to claim what is rightfully ours. If you really want to be guided here on earth, and you raise your hand and you claim those parents, that's when God will step in, or the universe will step in, or spirit will step in, or source, whatever we want to call this soup of love that is in our hearts, that is in our cells, that is within us, around us, in all parts of life. That soup of love is everywhere. So imagine they would call you and they would just be like, hello, my darling. We're so happy that you called. We're so delighted that you are taking, you know, contact with us, that you are in touch with us, that you're back in touch with us again. What can we do for you today? And then you tell them, I want to be, from now on, I want to be guided. I want to feel loved. I want to feel safe here on earth. I want to feel inspired by the love, the unconditional love that is truly there for me, and the inspiration that comes with it. And imagine that they will just say, okay, my child, we are very, very happy that you were calling us. And we're going to tell you something. We will never hang up this phone. We will always stay on this phone line so that you can always ask us your question, that you can always ask us whenever you need help or guidance in anything. We will be here and we will guide you. And in addition, we will send you tools and, the right people or the right opportunities or whatever it is that you need in your life, physical or inspirational or spiritual, whatever. We will send you everything you need to succeed here on earth. And we will never hang up. And so imagine, how would you feel if you had this line, this golden thread of that phone line between you and Source all the time? And imagine that you would go to bed and you would wake up with clear intuitions, with clear maybe images, or clear, how can I say, really precise intuits about what is the next step to take, what is the next action to take. And then imagine how you would feel to always have someone that you can talk to always have someone that is there for you all the time, no matter what time the day it is. It's 24/7. They will be there on that phone line, never hanging up the phone, waiting for you to talk to them, to ask them, to claim something back that you need or whatever it is, And this is how it feels to be unconditional love. This is what we are going to awaken when we claim our love back from Spirit, and we are raising both our hands and we are just saying, guide me. I'm ready now. I'm ready to be guided. I do not want to live this life on my own, thinking that I have everything to figure out on my own. I'm willing now to have always a counselor on my side, an unconditionally loving counselor that knows what I need in each moment and can care for me in the way that I need it. So imagine, how would you feel? And as I finished this message, this description of what God can feel like, it was 18, my message was 18 minutes long, and 18 is one infinite source, one, and then the 8 is the infinite source. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, my dear one, I hope that this is helping you. Please let me know in the chat what you are taking away from today's video. What have you learned? How does it make you feel to know that there is a love so much stronger, so much more unconditional than human love could ever be? And that love is always there for you. No sand corn is ever forgotten. Every corn of sand is important. Every grain of sand is important here on earth. And every grain of sand is known by name, by what we call Source. So when you reconnect with that Source, miracles will happen. And if you need help in reconnecting with Source, you know that I can be your trusted coach on your side. I can take one more client up into my schedule right now. Just leave me a message in the chat below and we will connect. All my love, beloved soul. Remember how deeply loved you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.